Runner's angle of the bow now, 0.
Down the throat. It's a bow shot.
Hello, YouTube modeling community. This is Rick, and this is an overdue final for my cancer awareness group build entry. This is the PT 556, the Daisy Mae, and a little bit review of how we kind of got here. For the cancer group build, I knew I wanted to do something for prostate cancer, which means a light blue color, and I wanted to do something naval. So I remembered having seen videos on the restored Higgins PT 305, where they used a paint scheme called the Thayer Blue. And so I went back and looked at that a little more detail, saw a separate video on exactly what that paint scheme was and how it came about, and it had been well researched and thorough. So I've pretty much started to focus in on that. However, I wanted to do an Elko PT rather than a Higgins PT. Primarily because there aren't very good model kits for the Higgins. There's really only the Revell 100 scale, 196 scale, which I had just built a year and a half ago. So having found the new PT by Revell, I went and searched to whether or not this paint scheme had been used on any of the Elko boats. And on a website called PT World, I found some sketches of Elko PT boats that used the paint scheme. They weren't exactly the same as the PT 305, but I think the 305 was probably more thoroughly researched and probably more accurate. So I thought I'd go with that. And the other fact that I found out in looking at that the PT sketch that I found was of a boat from Motor Torpedo Squadron 29. And I found out that Squadron 29 had kind of a different loadout on 4 of its boats. They had the experimental Thunderbolt on the stern, which was, as I mentioned in the intro, it's 4 20 millimeters in a rotating turret that replaced the single 40 millimeter Beaufort that was most PTs carried. So with that unique feature, I really honed in on building one of those 4 boats. And although there weren't a lot of pictures of all of them, I really picked on the 556 because it was called the Daisy Mae, and I figured I could get some interesting nose art from 172nd Aircraft and apply that and use that. So that's how we got here. Okay, why don't we now take a little spin around here. Probably the first most notable feature is the 37 millimeter Mark IV cannon. Interesting that weapon was originally developed as an aircraft weapon and converted for PT use and referred to as a barge buster. So maybe more used in the Pacific against a lot of the Japanese barges that come up. As we go around here, you can see the hull number decals that I produced. I went with the gold and blue trim decals that or fonts that were used on the PT 305 museum piece for a couple of reasons. One, to try and do white decals. Couldn't be done, I couldn't make my own, and to use manufactured ones, I'd have to cut out each digit individually and put it on. So this, I could just create the entire hull number and put it on. So those are all homemade decals. One of the other things you'll see here is the yellow and the red. Those are all for recognition by friendly aircraft, as is the star on top of the radar tower. Also forward is a 20 millimeter gun. Continuing around, you can see ammo storage in the cabinets there in front of the cabin for the 20 millimeter and for the 37 millimeter. And we go around a little further. And the one criticism I have of the kit, if you look at all these little antennas and staffs, very thin. There's probably at least a half dozen repairs that I had to do to these broken little protuberances from the kit. So then we look at the 50 caliber, twin 50 caliber gun tubs forward on the starboard side, aft on the port side. Life rings have always I've questioned. On the museum boats, because of current regulations, they're always international orange. I tried to do a little research as to what they were in World War II, whether they were gray or whether they were white, and I didn't really come to an answer, so I just did them white. The torpedoes, again, I built this as if it was a museum ship, so they're bright and shiny and have the same makeup as the museum ship. Did the props in a bright bronze color, which adds a little bit of color to the overall model. We continue around. Now here's the interesting Elco Thunderbolt for 20 millimeter in a turret, which replaced the single 40 millimeter Bofar that was usually on the aft end of most of the boats at that time. Continuing on, we looking around at the side, the other gun tubs, the other side of the cabin, I think looking good. The lifeboat, again, there was kind of a question as to what color it might have been in reality. The raft I'm talking about, I decided to just do it in a gray, just again to give a little contrast to that and everything else. So we can do a little better look at the bridge area. We'll post a couple close-ups of that. I feel pretty good about the whole thing. Let me just check my notes here. I think I've covered everything. I'm overall very, very happy with this. I think it's, since I re-entered the hobby, I think this is probably the best build I've done. You can, again, see the decals placed on the side. It was a lot of fun to do. I was well over the deadline for the cancer group build, but I wanted to take my time and do it right. I'm really pleased. Now, I will go on with a little bit of history. This PT boat was part of PT Squadron or MTBron 29. I've got a little bit of history about that, and I'm going to go through that, but as I did last time, for those of you that are not into the history, feel free to bail out now, but please, if you've enjoyed it, let me know in the comments, like, subscribe. I just noticed today I'm only a few subs short of 100, so we get to 100 subs, we'll, as the community convention, community practices, we'll do a giveaway, and so that should be not too far away. So, okay, so if you're not going to stick around for the history, thanks for watching, and as I said, subscribe, like, and we'll get on to the history. PT boat squadrons, in particular Squadron 29. Just squadrons in general, they were usually 12 boats, comprised of 2 6-boat divisions. They came out of the same construction lot usually. PT Squadron 29 were all constructed in Electric Boat's Bayonne, New Jersey facility in the fall of 1943. And a squadron is an administrative and staff organization, not an operational organization. So it was concerned with basically the supply, the maintenance, the berthing and messing of the squadron personnel. They were usually all based in the same location, or at least each division in the same location. So now turning to particular Squadron 29, a great source for naval information on all ships is NavSource Online, in particular their photo archive. But it's more than a photo archive. There's a lot of information. The next couple slides here show what's there for the boat I'm configuring here and using as a prototype, PT-556. It's an 80-foot Elco. It was laid down in July 43, launched in September, completed in October, and then assigned to 29. And they list the commander of the squadron. And the squadron was assigned to the Mediterranean, based in Calvi, Corsica, and Leghorn, Italy. It hatched along the northwest coast of Italy and the southern coast of France, where it operated under the British coastal forces. And as I said, one of the reasons I picked this particular boat of the Squadron 29 is, well, first because it had the Elco Thunderbolt, but also that it was at one point the Daisy Mae. It tells you here that it was eventually transferred before the end of the war in the Pacific to the Russians, where it's unknown as to what happened to it. So this is part of that page, and then the page goes on to give like specifications, displacement, beam. Here it talks as the armament is the quad 20 millimeter Thunderbolt, the 4 torpedoes, the twin 50 caliber machine guns. Even though in the picture here, which we'll look at in a minute, they obviously show the 20 millimeter, although it didn't have the 31 millimeter cannon at that point. If it ever did, I really don't have any way of knowing, but I know other boats in the squadron did. So I think I can take license and use it in the model. So and this image again, we'll look at that in a minute, but was December 43, so this was right after it was completed. It says newly completed. It'll show the Thunderbolt turret and stuff. And it tells who the commanding officer was. It was Kloffman here, and he was an ensign, USNR Reserve, but he was awarded the Bronze Star at some point. Probably with a little Google search, I can figure that out. But, we did that. So a couple other actions that Squadron 29 saw. This one here had to do with a patrol with 3 of the squadron boats who attacked a couple of German corvettes and sunk them. They tracked the corvettes by radar for about 25 minutes, just creeping into firing range. They each released 2 of their torpedoes. They saw the leading corvette disintegrate, and they saw gunfire, but weren't sure where it was coming from. They saw another explosion. They were confident in the destruction of one and felt they might have sunk the other, but that was confirmed a little bit later. Now, the source of this is a book written by Robert J. Buckley, who, if you've ever watched the movie They Were Expendable, that's a focus on Buckley as somebody who kind of really promoted the PT boats and gained a lot of fame. And they were originally based in the Philippines. That was their squadron was the squadron that took MacArthur to meet his flight to Australia. Or I don't know whether, I forget how he went after he got off the PT boat, whether he flew or whether they put him on a ship, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, the book's available online. It's really a great source, and I don't think this link is active here, but I'll put an active link in the description. I'll also put a link to the nav source photo index, which, as I said, is good for any type of U.S. Navy ship. Regarding the Elco Thunderbolt, the same book by Buckley, At Close Quarters, also comments about the success they had against smaller targets. That in the Mediterranean, that were most of the targets were well armored, but when they came up against smaller targets, the combination of the Thunderbolt, along with boats that had the single Beaufort 40 millimeters, was quite effective. So also out of that squadron, they had one loss that I'm aware of, that in 1949, PT 555 was sunk by a mine while it was on a reconnaissance mission out here off the coast of France. They were taking a French captain into port to determine whether the port was actually in the hands of the Free French, in which they found out it was, but on the exit, they wound up hitting a mine. And there's about a 5-page history of that event and that action. That is really very good read, and that's also in NavSource, and I'll put that link in the description also. So moving on, I just now here have a few shots of the few photos I could find of boats in that squadron. The first here is 552 underway here in port alongside. You can see at that point it did not have the Beaufort or the Thunderbolt. It just had a 20 millimeter in the stern. The configuration here. And we can now. This is the only picture I could find of the actual 556, and this is the same picture that we were just looking at a minute ago, only enlarged. And if you remember, it said it was December 43, so it was just after construction. You can see the Thunderbolt in the stern. The mast is folded down, and at that point they've got one 20 millimeter forward. Now this is a photo it allowed me to take some license. The armament loadout is the same as it was in the kit, and therefore I felt I could use it to represent 556 as well. This is the 31 millimeter cannon, 20 millimeter, and the two 50 cal turrets back there. The 557 was not a Thunderbolt boat, I don't believe. So that's gave a little bit of license there. And this is the 559 boat. Again, looks like they've got the mast folded down. I can't really see what the stern gun is. I don't know whether that's the 40 millimeter or it looks like maybe it's just another 20 millimeter, but not really sure. So that's just a little bit of background and the research I did for the build. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like and comment, and look at the links, especially if you're thinking of doing a ship this year. I heard a couple members of the community said they were going to try a ship this year, so I think you'll find them good resources. Okay, so thanks guys, take care.
Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back on the updates 1.83 dev server, and we're having a look at the Elco 80-foot PT556. Out of stuff like the Elco 80-footer is that it's a great mix between having torpedoes, having the PT aspect of everything, and then also having the fact that it has a bunch of guns on it. And the Elco 80-footer is exactly that. So you have the 4 torpedoes, 37mm on the front, which is this one. You also have the 20mm here. Then you have 2 sets of dual 12.7mm, and then you have the pièce de résistance. You have the quad 40mm in the back. Now, pictures that I've actually seen of this thing in real life were actually like 650 cals and 220s, and this, they've just decided to stick 4 20mm Oerlikon Mark IIs in a big box, and the guy actually sits next to it in this chair and just rails on people, and it looks really, really fun. You've also got the configuration of 3 engines, which is nice. But the fact that on the back of this you just have a "screw you, I'm coming home" quad 20, it's just marvelous.